when someone says they like being a lone wolf, what is that? I mean, no one likes to be alone, really. I mean, we like to be alone in moments, but no one wants to be alone and not have close friendships, right?
Yeah.
What is that really, what are we really saying when we say, you know what, I just want to be alone, or I want to be a lone wolf? Is that we've been embarrassed in the past by social settings where people have made fun of us, or what does that mean kind of in general, do you think?
You know, I think...
I don't trust people.
Yeah. It's difficult to deal with, reading the cues, and it's just confusing or overwhelming. A criticism of, the monk lifestyle, and they're just always... And, they're alone all the time. They don't have to deal with,
Right,
what if I don't like the other monk? Sure. I'll just go off to my cave and I'll be all alone, and then you don't have to deal with it. The real test comes when you do have to deal with that, and disagreements. What if somebody somebody disagrees with you? That brings up all of these things that humans were evolved to do. We are social animals, and I think that there are social butterflies. I was never a social butterfly. I will never be a social butterfly. But it is not true what I told myself, that I just love to be alone, and I'm better on my own. No, I'm much better with people. So I think there's it is that difficulty, social interactions. We were evolved to be social, but it is scary, and some of us have that fear, and so...
I think it can be terrifying if you don't know how to handle the emotions of it. If you haven't learned the tools on how to navigate when someone lets you down, or when someone talks behind your back, or when someone lies to you, or when someone breaks their commitment, or whatever it is, it's hard to learn these things.
It is.
And we could wall ourselves up, we can protect ourselves, but I think that creates more stress and anxiety. It's like feeling alone and feeling disconnected to people. I think is even harder. But it seems safer in the moment, so.
It does. And I do believe that, you get what you give. And so, put out there, I could tell by your evening ritual that you like to put out there, what can I give to other people? And the more you do that, it's not to say that nobody will ever turn around and try and, go behind your back about something.
They do, yeah.
But you are building so much goodwill in the people that do appreciate it. It is like this protective cocoon. So the more you do go out there and give to people, the more protected. And that is going back to vulnerability. The more vulnerable you are, and say, I like you. I want to help you. Here's what I can do. This would make me feel good. That's a very vulnerable thing to do and to offer. And I think that pays, even though sometimes it's hard and it's scary to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Adam Grant talks about that in his book, I think Give and Take, I think it's called, where it's like there's givers and takers, and you want to learn not to just constantly give to the takers, but make sure there's give and take in relationships and stuff like that. Well, I love you said that the worry you feel should help you move towards your fear. So if you're worried about being in social settings, you should think about it and say, okay, what can I do to help me overcome this?
Exactly.
How can I really like to create exercises and kind of games when I'm afraid. And I say, okay, I used to be, when I was a teenager, I was afraid to talk to girls. I think like most teenage boys, I don't know, maybe I was the only one, but I was afraid to talk to girls. And I remember I've told this on my show many times, but I was sick and tired of having so much anxiety, getting rejected by just saying hello at 16. And I said, okay, for this summer, I am going to, every time I feel butterflies when I see a girl, I'm going to go right up to her and have a conversation. And I need to go up to her. I can't walk away. I have to put myself through this. And the first couple of weeks was horrible. It was terrifying because I got rejected. I was stuttering. I was stumbling over myself. I was like, girls were running away, like the whole thing. But then eventually you gain more and more confidence. You get a little win. Okay, she talked to me for 10 seconds. So you build your confidence. And I think if you create a game or an experiment for yourself and say, I'm just going to do a social experiment around this. I did this with public speaking as well. For a year, I went every week, and it was terrifying. I went to a public speaking class. And I was like, I'm going to do this as an experiment and see what I can prove every week. I think if you do that, it becomes more, we go back to joy. How do you create joy around the anxiety?
Yeah.
How can you make it a fun game? Not something that's like this terrible, fearful thing, but how can I make a game out of this?
Yeah, yeah.
For me, that has worked wonders by creating experiments, games,
Yes.
and trying to throw some joy in there, even when it's so stressful.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that idea. I love that idea. And bringing friends in to help you.
Absolutely.
Because you were saying that you shared these parts of yourselves, presumably with close friends. And I had that same thing. You know, I wanted to project. I was that 10% that I'm not anxious.
Really?
I am happy all the time. You know,
a smile on your face, yeah.
And the truth was that I wasn't. And it was fear of, well, if they saw the real me, then they would never want to. And I'd be, you know, with fewer friends that I have right now, and that's terrible. But you have to learn how to share your authentic self, or else you get inauthentic friends.
That's true.
I learned.
Gosh, why is it you said that? We both said this, you know, if people actually knew this about me, then they wouldn't love me, or they wouldn't like me, or I'd be alone, or they wouldn't want to spend time with me.
Yeah.
Is that something you think is a fear for a lot of people? If people actually knew this about me, what I was most afraid of, what I'm most ashamed of, what I'm most insecure about, if they actually knew this is how I felt, they wouldn't love me. Do you think that's a common theme in the world?
I think every single person, I think that same 90% that are suffering from anxiety has that about something in their life, because it's hard to share even the most. I'm sure Oprah even has things that, you know, although she's obviously shared a lot.
Yes.
Very difficult to do. And I'm sure everybody has something like that. And I have this vision that people are just searching for the right configuration of friends where they feel comfortable, or family members, where they do feel comfortable enough to let that guard down and, you know, let it slip out. It's like, oh, you know, what's going to happen if that really comes out? And it's a yearning that gets suppressed, I think, too much.
Yeah. It's funny, when I started to reveal the things I didn't like about myself or wasn't proud about myself about 8 years ago, and started to really incorporate that on a more consistent basis in my life. And I have this platform where I'm always talking about my insecurities and doubts, so my audience knows all my darkness. It gives me, it's funny, the more I started, before I did it, I had so much anxiety and worry and stress thinking about sharing things. To close friends, family members, and then eventually I started opening up more on my podcast here. But it's since I've done that, it's like the worry and stress goes away. Because I'm like, oh, I'm still alive. People like me. You know, I have friendships. You know, my family didn't abandon me. And in fact, it brought me closer to people. It strengthened the bonds and connections with my friends, family. It created new relationships that I didn't have because people trusted me more. They could see me better. They could understand and empathize with me. They could, you know, they just felt like I was more real, whatever it might be. And I think that also allows me to sleep better at night, knowing, okay, I am being 100% authentic to who I am. Revealing myself, opening up, being vulnerable in conversations. It feels great. You know, I feel like, and people still like, I have great friendships. So what do I need to worry about? People know all my stuff that I don't like about me. And they still like me. You know, it's like, they're my friend. You know, and the people that don't like me, okay, they weren't meant for me.
Exactly.
It feels more peace. It's, I don't know.
I know exactly what you're feeling. What you're saying. It really opens up this new kind of communication route when you are vulnerable and honest, and it gives permission to the other person to be vulnerable, honest, or just be there to listen, because that's also very, very powerful. One of the experiments that I did in my lab this last year was trying to find the easiest, shortest intervention that we can do with students that would decrease their very high levels of anxiety.
What was that?
And so we tested many things. just a walk outside, chair yoga, all these things they can do online. This was all virtual. But one of the things that was very effective that I was so excited about is a mindful conversation. So what we did is we didn't go deep. We didn't want to have them reveal some, deep, dark secret. But what we did is my student researchers had a script. They shared a real story about a favorite vacation, why it was favorite. It was real. They were really trying to share this experience with them, and then invited the student who they didn't know, who was our experimentee, to share the same thing. And in that year where everything was virtual and it was, professors just saying, okay, now learn these 5 chapters, go ahead, go do it. And to have somebody there listening to their story, listening deeply and asking real questions because they were it was only 10 minutes, completely decreased their anxiety.
Really?
And
by them sharing and someone listening, or by them also listening to someone else's story?
I think it was really the sharing and have somebody else listening, because the first part, my students always went first. They didn't know what exactly was going to happen. So that was just to lay the groundwork. And I think the interaction and the good feelings started to develop when they started to open up, sharing this story and seeing, oh my God, somebody is really listening to me. They're asking me a question about this event that meant something to them. And that just shows how powerful social interactions are. And even this short 10-minute thing between, we thought about, should we get 2 friends to try and have a conversation? That was too hard to control. But we could control exactly the protocol of this stranger student and the kind of interaction they had.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there any research on if men or women are more anxious? Is there any research around this? Like, if men have more anxiety or stress, or if women have more anxiety or stress?
I think the stat, I should know this.
Are we all, or are we just all messed up equally?
I think we're all messed up equally. There's more women with depression. Depression and anxiety are related, but have different symptoms. But I think it's pretty equal for anxiety.
The reason I'm curious is because when I was studying about masculinity years ago, I wrote a book called The Mask of Masculinity, which is kind of the mask that men wear to project and protect themselves from showing emotion and revealing themselves. And when I was on tour talking about it, I would always ask in every city, and about 50% men and women would show up, and I would always ask, like, okay, for the ladies here, raise your hand if you have a girlfriend or girlfriends that you talk to once a week about your stress, your worry, your challenges in life, your work issues, your body issues, whatever it might be dealing with, that you have someone, one or multiple girlfriends you speak with on a weekly basis. And pretty much the entire room of women raised their hand and said, yes, every week I have at least one person. And I said, keep your hands up if you do this every day. You call a girlfriend on the phone, you have lunch, you're just talking about something for a few minutes. And I go, how does it make you feel to be able to talk about these things? And like, it feels great to be able to share this. And say, okay, for the men in the room, raise your hand if once a month you get together with a guy friend and you talk about your vulnerabilities, your insecurities, your body issues, your challenges at work, and you really open up to this other male friend. Maybe 1 or 2 guys and out of hundreds would raise their hand. And I would say, you guys are part of a church group, right? Where you meet once a month and you say, like, for an hour and you do these things. And like, yes. And I say, okay, I go back to the ladies in the room. I say, ladies, imagine not being able to do this once a month. Only doing this once a month, how would it make you feel? They're like, I'd feel more anxiety, more stress. And I go, imagine these men who never do this in the room. They never share these things. I'm not saying all men, but a lot of men don't feel like they have one guy friend they can open up and reveal to. And I feel like maybe there's another symptom. Maybe it's just like they just wall themselves up and don't share emotion, and there's other internal factors or physical ailments that they're caused from that stress. But I think it's, either way, I think it's important for everyone to learn how to share these things. And based on that study you did, I think it's when we share,
right,
whatever it is,
yeah,
even if it's 5-10 minutes, it decreases
yeah,
the stress and the anxiety. It seems like it goes down.
Yeah.
And I feel like if we got to create better friendships or relationships or therapists or whatever that we can connect to and have that consistent communication stream.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, when we hold on to it, just bad things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bad things happen.
Absolutely. So how does that work? What is the change that we need in raising boys and talking to boys?
This is this is a dynamic. I mean, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I was born in 83. And it was just not accepted to show emotion in elementary school, middle school, high school. It wasn't acceptable, especially as an athlete. Growing up in Ohio, it just wasn't. Maybe in some, part of Beverly Hills in LA, or some like posh school in New York City, I don't know, maybe in pockets, there's some more acceptability of younger boys showing this type of emotion. I don't know what it's like in 2021, but I just know that you were laughed at, you were made fun of if you cried, if you showed emotion. I remember wanting to put my arm around like guy buddies of mine and them pushing me away and saying, don't be gay, or just don't be a little girl, don't be whatever the term is that was associated around something negative for them. And so you learn, in order to fit in, to wall yourself or to not share the things that people won't like about you. And I'm not saying that's okay, and we all have our responsibilities. But as young boys growing up, when we're conditioned that way, it was hard to break that for me personally. And it took me a long time until I realized, like, wow, this isn't working for me. I have more stress and anxiety. It was really decades of stress and anxiety and not being able to sleep at night. That was the thing, that the catalyst that you talked about, that was like, enough is enough. Maybe for you as a social anxiety, but finally as a teacher, like, okay, I've got to show up differently to not stress all the time. And so 8+ years ago, I finally started to reveal myself. I was just like, okay, I can't live like this anymore. So everyone can know everything about all my shame, because I'd rather that happen and be alone, because I feel so much stress all the time. And then it gave me a lot of peace. And then I learned the process of healing and therapy work and workshops and all that stuff, and just healthier relationships in general. I don't know the solution. But I know I'm trying to be a better model for other men to witness.
That's beautiful.
I'm trying to bring other men on and have these types of conversations so that younger men could see, like, oh, okay, here's someone that maybe I like what he does, or what he's an athlete, and I can understand and relate to that. And hopefully I can start to do this with my own life, or maybe with my girlfriend or my guy friends. And try to have some of these conversations. But I just think it's challenging in general. It's challenging when you're younger and you're trying to have a few friends and they don't accept it.
Exactly.
That's tough. Because no
really
kid
is.
wants to be alone.
No.
They want to just hang out and go on the playground and just be with their buddies. So it's really challenging. I don't know. Do you have kids?
No, I don't have kids.
I don't have a solution to that. But I think I don't have kids either. But if I was a parent, I would just encourage showing emotion with my sons or daughters, and be the example. Be vulnerability with them. Allow myself to feel. Allow myself to cry if I'm watching a movie or something happens in my life and I'm feeling it. To not wall up, but to allow myself. But this is, we're going off another topic here. We're going off another topic here for another conversation. But as an academic, as a neuroscientist, and a study of psychology and the brain and all these things, you've come from a very academic approach to your research. But a year ago, you unfortunately lost your father and your brother around the same time. And while you were writing the book, and so you had to kind of shift some of the stuff writing the book, because you were experiencing it on an emotional level, what you were kind of researching. Can you share more the biggest lessons you learned from these types of losses for yourself, and how you emotionally had to navigate it when maybe you didn't have the answers? And what did you learn from that experience?
So it really was the week that I was about to dive in and start writing the real chapters of this book, Good Anxiety. And that was when my younger brother passed away, completely unexpected.
Younger brother?
My younger brother. Just 3 months after our father had passed away. So we were just healing, still raw from losing our father, and then he had an unexpected heart attack.
Really?
And so first, just that pain and grief that I was experiencing is not the same as anxiety. It shares some of those negative emotions. This was
loss,
just
grief, sadness.
Sadness. It was so
anger,
painful. Like how could this happen? It feels like a different reality. Everything looked the same, but it just felt so different. And it forced me to explore these feelings that I'd have had inklings of in the past, but never to this extent, and kind of in this wave of first my dad and then my brother. And I slowly came back from it, and I used some of the tools that I talk about in the book that were already in place for me. Morning meditation. So I do a morning tea meditation. A tea meditation, which I describe in the book, which is a meditation over brewing and drinking tea. For me, that was the magic bullet for meditation, because there's a sequence for brewing tea. You boil the water, then you put it in the tea leaves, you let it steep, and then you pour it out, and then you drink it. And that kind of sequence kept my meditation going. So I always had something to do. I was waiting for the tea to brew.
Yes.
I get to drink the tea now. I get to be mindful about how does the tea feel? How hot is it? How does it taste? And I really came to appreciate that there is this moment, and yes, everything on the outside of my meditation feels like it's different, but this moment still feels like every other moment that I enjoyed my tea meditation. So that helped me come back to, I am alive. I'm so lucky to be alive. And
perspective.
Yeah, so lucky to have the family that's still with me.
Yes.
And exercise, my first book, Healthy Brain, Happy Life, was all about the transformative effects of exercise on the brain. So after I meditate, I do my workout in the morning. And it was really one day I was doing my workout. It's a video workout, and the trainer said, it was a hard workout, and she said, in working out, with great pain comes great wisdom.
Ooh, I love that.
And I was like, oh my God, that is what I need to hear, not just for working out. I have just gone through the worst pain in my whole life, and I do have more wisdom. That wisdom is based in the love that was left behind.
Yes.
And not just left behind, that sounds like it's leftovers. The love that is here.
Yes.
That's still here from my brother and my father. And that's when I started to think about this book, Good Anxiety, in a different way. Because anxiety is an everyday kind of pain and suffering that we all go through. And what if that leads to wisdom?
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? And I needed as much wisdom and power that I needed. And so the book became searching for the power and the wisdom in everyday anxiety. It never would have been that if I hadn't had this event happen. And so that's where the 6 superpowers or gifts of anxiety came from. I needed them to be superpowers. We ended up calling them gifts. But same thing. And so that is the real origin story of this book. I think about anxiety now and all that worry and anger and all these other things that come with anxiety. I really think of it as kind of the wind in my sails. That is the little fire under my backside that gets me to do things, gets me excited, gets me to go towards the fear.